Okay, let's talk about something we've all been through, the problem-solving meeting. You know the scene. You've got a huge issue to tackle, the room is full of really smart people, and yet somehow the conversation just goes in circles. The best ideas seem to die before they even get a chance. We're going to dive into how to fix that, for good.
I mean, really, why does this happen? We've all seen it. Someone shares a brilliant, fresh idea, and within minutes, it's just torn to shreds. Is there something wrong with the ideas? Or just maybe, is the meeting itself the problem? And here it is. This is the core of the issue. Most meetings, by default, have this critique first mentality. So instead of building on new concepts, we spend all our collective brainpower just poking holes in them. And what's the result? People get discouraged and they stop sharing their most creative, out of the box ideas. So, how do we break out of this cycle? Well, the solution actually starts way before anyone even walks into the room. It turns out the most productive problem solving sessions are the ones where the prep work is done right. Now, that last one, step 3, that's the real game changer. Research actually shows that while groups are fantastic at evaluating and refining ideas, individual people are often way better at coming up with them in the first place. So if you give your team some quiet time to think on their own before the meeting, you're going to walk in with a much richer set of ideas to work with. All right, so you've done your homework. Everyone's got some ideas bubbling. Now what do? Well, this next technique is all about making sure every single one of those ideas actually gets heard.
The whole point of the round robin is super simple. Collect, don't judge. You just go around the room and you write down every single idea, no matter how wild it seems. And here's the key. You put a temporary ban on all criticism. This creates this awesome cone of psychological safety. It encourages everybody, even the quietest person in the room, to share freely.
Okay, so all the ideas are up on the board. Now the discussion can finally begin. But how you guide that conversation is absolutely crucial. This next little trick is a really subtle but incredibly powerful way to keep the focus on the ideas, not the people who suggested them. We see this all the time, right? When you point a tough question directly at the person who came up with the idea, they immediately feel like they're on the spot. They get defensive. But if you take that exact same question and just open it up to the whole group, you completely change the dynamic. Suddenly, it's not a personal attack. It's a shared puzzle for everyone to solve together. Look, no matter how perfectly you run a meeting, criticism is going to happen. And honestly, you need it to make ideas better. The trick, though, is to reframe that criticism so it becomes a tool for improvement, not just a wrecking ball. Ah, yes, the classic. The ultimate idea killer. It's that phrase that's just designed to shut down the conversation completely. But you know what? It doesn't have to. So instead of just letting the conversation die, you flip it. You turn that statement into a question. Responses like these force the group to think a little deeper. You're not ignoring the past failure, you're just asking, okay, so what's different now? You're basically turning a brick wall into a doorway. Now, let's talk about that one person. You know who I'm talking about, the one who has a yes but for every single suggestion. That critical thinking can be a huge asset, but if you don't manage it, it can just drain all the creative energy from the room. So here's a really slick way to handle it. The next time that person raises an objection, walk over to a whiteboard and draw a simple pro and con chart. You validate their concern, write it down in the con column, but then you turn right back to that same person and ask them, okay, now give me a pro. It's a simple move, but it flips a mental switch, forcing them to engage with the idea's potential, not just its problems. And finally, we get to the person who holds the most sway in the room, the leader. Your behavior sets the tone for everybody else. And the most impactful thing you can do is often the hardest and most counterintuitive. It's just a natural impulse, right? It's your idea, your baby, and someone's poking holes in it. Your gut reaction is to jump in, explain, and defend it. But you have got to resist that urge. When you fight that urge to defend, you send a massively powerful signal to your team. You're showing them that you trust their judgment more than you value your own ego. It empowers other people to step up and champion good ideas. And over time, that becomes the culture. That becomes the new normal. And this is why you can have the confidence to step back and let the process work. Because really, a genuinely good idea has a life of its own. You have to trust that your team is smart enough to see its value. If an idea really has merit, it will find its own champions in the room. And that really is the ultimate question, isn't it? If we do our job right, if we prepare our teams, create a safe space, and lead with trust instead of ego, we don't just protect good ideas,
We create an environment where the very best ideas can prove their own worth, all on their own,